This Christmas, I don't know whether you've picked up on many of the Christmas adverts. I had an hour of work, as you can imagine, looking at them all pretty much. And I noticed that two of the big stores have gone for the same interesting theme, which is the theme of leaving aside traditions that we don't really understand or believe in anymore in order to sort of make up new traditions. John Lewis has a boy planting a quick grow Christmas tree, which turns out to be a Venus flytrap, much to the horror of the rest of his family. And sure enough, the plant is put outside until on Christmas Day, they sort of feel a bit sorry for Venus. And so they all go out and Venus unwraps all their presents for them. And then there's a sky full of glitter at the end of the advert. Marks and Spencer's go one further. They have celebrities setting fire to traditional Christmas. And their slogan is, "Do only what you love this Christmas." And again, at one point in the advert, there's a sky full of glitter. I pick up on that symbol of glitter and that slogan of "do only what you love," because the glitter, at least, is fun, it dazzles, it's great for a moment, isn't it? That's let's celebrate. But it's temporary, it's fragmentary, it's atomized, it's nothing to it. There's no substance, there's no connection with lots of different pieces of shiny glitter, and you doing what you love, and I doing what I love, and you do you, I do me. And how on earth we do anything together, how we do society, how we even do family, if we've all got that mindset. Now, when it comes to traditions, I get it. I get the idea that some traditions are, they were passed down, but do we need them anymore? Do you have to have Brussels sprouts for it to be a true Christmas? Sorry, that's not meant to be a controversial question. But I get the idea of let's refresh it, let's strip back what the trimmings and get to the essential part of Christmas, the thing that really makes it something worth celebrating. I think that's the good essence of reevaluating traditions, and I'm assuming that's what we're all doing here tonight. That all of us tonight, I'm assuming, are those either because of their own personal faith or because of some sort of tradition, conscious or unconscious, know that by singing and hearing afresh this story of the first Christmas, of the birth of Jesus, that actually we are engaging with something that is going to connect us, that's going to bring us together, that's going to be something that gives hope and inspiration and connection and more. Because this actually is the story of everything. It's the story of God and the human race. It's that important. And this issue of fragmentation, of us all sort of doing separate things, separate from one another, separate from God even, this issue of fragmentation, that's not new. If we remember what we've just heard, there's a lot of readings, but the one we've just heard talked about Jesus as light coming into a dark world. And you don't need me to convince you of the darkness in the world. Just turn on the news, get the updates on your phone. And the Bible, as it talks about darkness, it's not only talking about the darkness out there, it's also talking about the darkness in here, in all of us, where we're such a mixture, where you and I have so much potential for good, and we do a lot of good things, but right alongside that, mixed in with it, seemingly inseparable, is this capability that we all have to do what's wrong. And it's not just my weakness and my failing. It's sometimes really deliberate, and it's when I act and I do me and you do you, and it hurts other people. It's when I do those things and it's just cutting me off from God. It's going the opposite direction than He wants in my life. And it's fragmentation, it's atomization, it's darkness is the Bible's word for it in what we've just heard read. But the story of Jesus is the light in the darkness. It's the story of God coming and God coming to the rescue. And it started a really, really long time ago. I don't know whether you were surprised. I'm always surprised every year that our readings for this service start all the way back at the beginning of the Bible, in Genesis, with the creation of everything, with the goodness of God who made human beings in his image. And with the goodness of the God that when we went wrong, he didn't sort of scratch his head and think, oh gosh, I'll scrap the lot of them and start again. He had a rescue plan. He chose an individual. He chose this man, Abraham, that we heard about. He made his descendants into a nation, the ancient Israelites, and he always had a purpose that through them all the nations would be blessed. He persevered with that nation for over a millennia, working in their history, building them up as a civilization, until at the center of it all, they built this remarkable, glorious temple, one of the wonders of the ancient world, as a meeting place for heaven and earth, where God could draw close to people. But even then, darkness was mixed into it all. In their best efforts, King Solomon, the temple builder, well, he misused his power, and his heart ended up going away from God. After him, it went from bad to worse, generation after generation, moving away from God's purpose for there to be a people on earth who knew him, a people who are living a life of freedom and purpose, a life of holiness and hope, a life that would help others around the world to know the living God. And by the end of the Old Testament, we're thinking, how's this hope that's there right from the beginning of the Bible, how's it ever going to happen? How's God's promise ever going to come about? And then he came. That's what we've been hearing and singing this night. He came. God himself became human, became one of us. The Word became flesh, is how John put it. The intelligence who created the universe, the one who was God and is God, who was with God and who was God, it says. The one who said, let there be light, and there was light. That one, the Word, became flesh, became human, and made his dwelling among us. That's what John says. One of Jesus' first disciples, the ones who knew him, who experienced him, who had their whole worlds turned upside down by him. It's why we sing in Once in Royal David's City, he came down to earth from heaven, who is God and Lord of all. It's an astonishing claim, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful that it's light in the darkness. It's God to the rescue. Now we really do have the meeting place of heaven and earth in God himself coming to us. It's why we heard in the other readings accounts of a virgin birth, of angels announcing it, of signs in the heavens. God was doing something utterly unique that he wanted the whole world to know about, shrinking himself down to become a little baby. And God came on a rescue mission. That's what the name Jesus means. God saves. He came as light in the darkness, not just to show the way, but actually to deal with the darkness in the world and in you and me. He pushed it back actually throughout the whole of his life in what he did, but then finally he took it on himself in his death. Jesus paid the price of every dark word and thought and deed to remove the barrier, the darkness that keeps you or me from God. If only we will come back to God through Jesus, because he's done that for us. And if you think about the end of his life, the darkness tried to overwhelm him. Actually, at the beginning of his life, the darkness tried to overwhelm him via Herod. And then at the end of his life, the darkness crucified him, but it could not overcome him because God raised him from the dead. As the reading says, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John wrote that obviously after Jesus' crucifixion, after his resurrection, the light not shone, the light shines in the darkness. It's a now thing. And so here in modern London, we haven't quite got all the nations here, but we've got many of the nations here in London somewhere, haven't we? If we only do what we love, then we'll end up fragmented and atomized and in competition and clashing with one another. But if we come back to the one who loves us, then we'll come back together. And then we'll build out from there with all of our diversity. That is the hope that Jesus Christ brings. A people with glorious diversity, reflecting the creativity of the Creator God. But a people at the same time with utter unity. Not only that we're all made in the image of God, not only that actually we're all caught up in this darkness, in our thinking, in our actions that disrupts our relationships, but written over all of that we're saved by one who deals with the darkness and brings us back to light itself, back to the God who is light, who made us, who loves us, and then who leads us into light. Doesn't that begin as a vision this Christmas to sound like real hope, the beginning, the possibility of real hope for our war-torn world, for our cosmopolitan city with so much diversity, and for our real-life families, and for each one of us, whatever we're facing this Christmas, the one who is light, who has come for us. How do we respond to that this Christmas time? The obvious way is to start or continue the conversation with the God who is there. He's just a prayer away, and so to put into words some kind of response this evening. We're going to be doing it in one final carol in a minute. But to say thank you to God for Jesus Christ, to say something about the light that he shines and you wanting it in your life, to ask him to shine it into you. And then to come together and to be part of what God is growing in London through his church. And if you're not ready yet for that, then let me encourage, I'll say a little bit more about this in a minute. Let me say a little bit about it now, which is this course, Hope Explored. We're going to meet 3 times in the new year, on the 14th and the 21st and the 28th of January. And we'll meet on Sunday afternoon, sort of late afternoon, just before sort of supper time, from 4:45 until 6 o'clock. And we'll go through some of Luke's story of Jesus and these themes of hope and peace and purpose. It's discussion. It's you bring your thoughts, you bring your questions, you bring your objections, and we look at them together. We think about them together. We think, does the Bible have anything to say about these things? It does have plenty. And let's engage with that together. I wonder whether if you've got one of those near you and that sounds interesting, that you might pop it in your pocket and think about coming in January. In the meantime, if you want something to read, on the way out there's these purple booklets, which is the story of Christmas put engagingly, and that might be interesting to read over the next few days. Or there's this book, which is Christmas Unbelievable, where a clever lady has thought about some of the questions that she had when she wasn't a Christian, and some of the things about the miracles and angels and virgin births and so on. And say, well, okay, what do we actually think about these things? Is Christmas Unbelievable? It's another good read that I recommend. Both of these books available on your way out if you'd like to take something away with you. But as I said a moment ago, the more immediate response we can make is to all join together in our final carol as we thank and honour and glorify God for what he has done. Let's stand together. Hark the herald angels sing.